In this lecture, I'm going to talk about double angle formulas. We already know that sine of A plus B is equal to sine A cosine B plus cosine A sine B. If we replace B by A, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get sine of A plus A is equal to sine A cosine A plus cosine A sine A. So therefore, we have sine 2A equal to 2 sine A cosine A. Now, with similar work, we can show that cosine 2A is equal to cosine square A minus sine square A. But this formula has other variations. For example, if I change the sine square A to 1 minus cosine square A, and we do a little bit of work, we're going to get 2 cosine square A minus 1. But also, if I replace the cosine square A with 1 minus sine square A, then we get a new formula, and that would be 1 minus 2 sine square A. Now, I'll leave that up to you guys to prove that tangent of 2A is equal to 2 tangent of A divided by 1 minus tangent square A. So these three formulas we're going to be using a lot. Of course, for cosine, we have 3 of them. And for tangent of 2A, we only have this formula. Now let's look at some problems with these. I want to find an expression for sine 3x in terms of sine x. So we start with sine 3x, and we're going to write this as sine of 2x plus x. So this becomes sine 2x cosine x plus cosine 2x sine x. Now sine 2x is 2 sine x cosine x, And cosine 2x, we had three options for that, but ultimately we want to be in terms of sine of x. So cosine of 2x, I'm going to write it as 1 minus 2 sine square x. A little bit of simplifying, this will be 2 sine x cosine square x. Distribute this, we're going to get sine x minus 2 sine cubed of x. Like I said, we want the final answer to be in terms of sine x. So I'm going to take the cosine square and write it as 1 minus sine square. Distribute and collect like terms, we're going to get 3 sine x minus 4 sine cubed of x. So this right here, it's an expression for sine of 3x in terms of sine x. Now let's look at the identity. I want to verify that sine 2x divided by 1 plus cosine 2x is the same as tangent of x. Working on the left-hand side, we can rewrite sine 2x as 2 sine x cosine x. In the denominator, instead of cosine 2x, I'm going to go ahead and write 2 cosine of x minus 1. We can simplify the 1 and minus 1. Keep everything organized. Instead of cosine square, I'm just going to write cosine of x times another cosine of x. So we can reduce the 2's and we can reduce the cosines. So now we have sine x over cosine x, which of course we know this is equal to tangent of x. So we verified that identity. Now let's take a look at a graphing problem. Suppose we're given y equal to 2 minus 4 cosine square x, and we want to graph one period of it. Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to factor a 2, and that gives me 1 minus 2 cosine square x, which is very similar, very familiar to us. Recall that cosine 2x could be written as 2 cosine square x minus 1, which this looks very familiar if we factor a negative here. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to factor a negative, and we're going to get 2 cosine square x minus 1, which now we can go ahead and replace this portion by cosine 2x. Now for the regular graph of cosine, the starting point x begins at 0. The middle point will be x equal to pi. And for the ending point, we're going to reach 2 pi. And that gives us one complete graph of one period of cosine. But our argument here is 2x. So we're going to go ahead and solve for x. The first one, x becomes 0. For the starting point, for the middle point, x will be at pi over 2. And for the ending point, x would be at pi. Once we plug this in, we're going to get the corresponding value for y. And for the first one, once you plug it in and simplify, y would be negative 2. For the middle point, y would be positive 2. And for the last one, for the ending point, y would be at negative 2. So now let's see if we can put this graph together. So we're going to go between 2 and negative 2. My starting point will be at 0 for x, would be at pi over 2 for the middle point, and would be at pi for the ending point. Now you can go ahead and do the quarter points, which will be at pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. And this is how the graph is going to look. So this is the graph of y equal to 2 minus 4 cosine square x. I hope this presentation on double angle formulas help you understand the topic and how to graph, how to simplify, and how to also verify some identities.